Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. I'm the CakeDive, and I'm just ready to hop into this topic. Y'all know what y'all here for. Y'all are here for the Kendrick and Drake beef thoughts. I'm not gonna hold y'all too long because my thoughts are probably gonna be. I'm gonna try to make this as brief as possible. So we have the timeline. We have Hiss by Megan Thee Stallion, which y'all keep trying to pretend is not a part of the story, and it is. A lot of talking points that Kendrick brings up, that Kendrick, Rick Ross, and everybody else who's in this beef bring up in dissing Drake is in Hiss, and it was kicked off in Hiss. So give Megan her flowers. I don't care if y'all think, oh, like this is mostly about Nicki Minaj. No, it was about Nicki Minaj, Drake, and everybody else who's sending her any hate and any disses. Like, y'all some losers. Like, listen, like this is important to the prop. So you have Hiss. Then you have Like That, which is from Metro and featuring Metro Boomin's album We Don't Trust You, and it featured Kendrick Lamar. This is when Hiss was kind of like, oh, like the wasp nest was like shaking a little bit, and then Like That is like, oh, this it's when it falls off and like all the wasps really came out, because Hiss was a hit number one on the charts, and everyone was like, oh, everybody was okay, the coast is clear, let's start dragging Drake. So Like That come out. Then we have J. Cole with 7 Minute Drill, which is I call it an optional track because he pulled the track and it was like, oh, he was on Dreamfield Fest and he's like, oh, I'm sorry guys, like it didn't feel right in my spirit. Who else loves Kendrick, y'all? Like he threw the towel in. He realized he was gonna get cooked and left. He said it didn't feel right in the spirit. Then we had Champagne Moments from Rick Ross because he was trying to be in it. He was trying to be in it, even though he had other things to worry about, like the Wingstop franchises that he and his family own that had been in trouble, and he hasn't really answered for real. Then you have Push Ups from Drake. He also dropped the Taylor Made freestyle, which he then pulled because for some reason he decided to use AI synthesis to recreate the voice of Tupac, who is no longer with us, and then Snoop Dogg, who is with us and would have probably done a feature with you if you paid him well enough. A whole different thing. Kendrick drops Euphoria and 616 in LA. Then Drake drops Family Matters. Then Kendrick drops Meet the Grams and Not Like Us. And then Drake drops The Heart Part 5. As of recording this, May 7th, 2024, this is where the timeline is at right now in terms of the songs. If I drop this and some extra tracks come out, baby, I'm not doing this again. I'm so sorry. Like this has gone on for too many work weeks. Like, I'm ready to wrap this up. And we got to talk about the quality of these tracks. So Hiss is an iconic record, first of all. Like, the girls need to, like, everybody was talking about Hiss. Like, that was the album that was the song that really got the girls talking. And again, like, a hit dog will holler, and some hit dogs did holler. And what was so iconic about that is, while this is not inherently a part of this like plot line, it is related to Hiss. We did get one of the worst diss tracks in like history, with that being Bigfoot by Nicki Minaj. That has to be, as much as the barbs, and I'm not trying to say this to try to rile no barbs up. Like, listen, the way I move with this podcast is I'm gonna critique everybody when they need to be critiqued. And I'm going to give praise to everybody who need to be critiqued, who need to be praised. And I'm not going to sugarcoat things, because that is just not how things, like, y'all don't want me to sugarcoat things. So, like, why should I sugarcoat things? Like, y'all know I keep it real. So I'm not going to pretend that Nicki Minaj did not drop one of the worst disses in history with Bigfoot, and that the barbs kept trying to shift the narrative on that. First they were like, oh, like, the song is good if you just listen to the acapella. And then they were like, when Hiss is brought up into this conversation of this Drake and Kendrick beef, then they're like, oh, but Megan didn't respond to Bigfoot. Who would respond to that corny like thing? That would be like if Kendrick responded to the Taylor Made freestyle specifically. Like, what? Like, no. This is a great track. Like That is a good track. I really love the track. Like, it is a hit. Then 7 Minute Drill, wasn't really feeling the track, but also I just don't like J. Cole's music like that. I feel like he's boring. And clearly he kind of feels a similar way because he did pull that track. Champagne Moments is fine. Rick Ross isn't that, like, he's alright as a rapper, but like he really tried kind of inserting himself into this conversation. This is an optional track, no shade. Push Ups, which is not good. Sorry, Drake. Then there is the Tailor Made Freestyle, which is worse because, again, the AI of it all. Like, why are you? What bugs me the most is why are you using AI on Snoop Dogg? Like, he's alive. Like, you could call him right now and be like, hey, do you want to do a feature? And he would have been like, yeah, how much you gonna pay? Like, it wouldn't have been that difficult, but for some reason for him it was. Euphoria is a good track. 616 in LA is a good track. Only complaints is that I feel like they're too long. Like, why are they 6-7 minutes long? Like, calm down. Like, I would say calm down. You know what? I'll let up because I would say calm down, but like, that man had a lot of hatred. Kendrick has a lot of hatred and spite in his heart that I, as a person, do not personally have. Like, I hate Drake, but the hate that Kendrick has for Drake is on a whole nother level, and I'll dig into that later. Family Matters is Drake's best diss yet, just in general. Like, including the Pusha T stuff, including all the disses that he's had before. This is his best diss ever. But it's also not that good because, as I'm going to touch on later, Kendrick does not have the writing range. His pen game isn't that good. And it really shows here in a diss, because when it comes to the diss, it really depends on, one, the theatrics, and two, the theatrics factor of it, and two, the pen. If your pen game is strong. And his pen game has never been strong. It never has been strong. And for the most part, up until like it gets to the conversations of beef, it's okay. When it came to the beef with Meek Mill, it was fine because he was beefing with Meek Mill. Like, no shade. Well, shade to Meek Mill, because, yeah. Then when it came to Pusha T, it really came out that he did not have the range. And he tried avoiding it for the longest time. Then, with this Kendrick beef, he is showing that he still doesn't have the range. But with Family Matters, you could tell that he was angry. You could tell that he was annoyed with the disses that were coming out by Kendrick, and he wanted this wrapped up. So you could tell that his pen got pushed a little bit by this. Then you had Meet the Grams and Not Like Us. I like Meet the Grams. I'm not too big on Not Like Us because, I don't know, I feel like it just, like, it clicks for me, but I'm not, like, I feel like I wouldn't really, like, re-listen to the track too much. And I think by now I'm like, all right, y'all been doing like 10 tracks. I'm good. Like, y'all said everything y'all need to say. Enough. Then, and the Heart Part 5, good beat, bad lyrics. Like, and that seems to be a common thread with Drake songs. Like, it is a pretty good beat, and it's a really good title for a diss track for the Kendrick. But a good beat and a good track does not save shitty lyrics. No shade. Like, it is like kind of corny lyrics. Like, the pen again, he got soft with the pen. So it's like, what y'all gonna do? And that is the timeline. And then we have to talk. I guess we have to talk about the tracks. Like, everybody's talked about the tracks. Everybody's talking about how Kendrick's talking about how Drake has been in company and has had interactions, physical interactions that are concerning with minors. He also talked about the sample that he did with the R. Kelly track, and also some things that he's heard from those who, from some of the spies within OVO in regards to an alleged second another son, well, not another son, but another kid, because it's a daughter, another kid that Drake has that he's been hiding under the rug, and everything else is kind of conversations about how like Drake does not have the support of the culture because he's not a part of the culture. He's only a part of the culture when he wants to use it for a monetary sense, which I'll dig into a little bit later. Actually, I could dig into that now because I mean the consistent thing and what really brings Kendrick to beef with Drake isn't really because of anything that Drake has inherently done, but more so the what he represents. He represents a man who, for the longest time, a Canadian man who has not had access to black culture and essentially like refused to build any connections or any access to black culture for the longest time. Very quickly shift and with the little access to the culture that he's had, start to monetize and capitalize on it in ways that many view as offensive, especially because he still does not have a full grasp of the culture. Because again, he is a light-skinned white boy, as everyone's calling him, who right now at this moment is learning to be like a black man. Like he is trying to transition into being a black man and is using different sort of things that are known and like mainstays of black culture in ways to kind of give him brownie points, and it doesn't really work. Then you get to the Drake side of things, and Drake is very clearly scrambling as to what to say. First, he calls the man short, which is like, okay. Then he talks about he like kind of sends some rumors. Well, he also talks about how like he's not putting out music and how like the music allegedly isn't charting, even though the music has been charting. He just hasn't been doing fraudulent schemes to make the music chart like Drake has been doing, because he has like multiple versions of the same album out and all that jazz, whereas Kendrick largely has done one album, maybe a deluxe here and there, and that is really it. And then there's also in the conversations that pick up after Push-Ups, which appears on like Family Matters and like the Heart Bar 6, where Drake, one alleges that Kendrick is in a common law relationship with his fiance Whitney, which suggests that he's the baby father, baby daddy. And then also allegedly suggests that, well, he suggests that Kendrick allegedly committed assault to Whitney. And then he also kind of touches on the Kendrick, making a fuss about R. Kelly's music having, like, almost being pulled off Spotify when the R. Kelly documentary came out. And that's really it in terms of Drake's, beefs and shots at, Kendrick. Because the thing about Drake is that Drake isn't really, the only reason Drake is mad at Kendrick and is sending, disses to Kendrick is because this is impacting the brand, and this is it's someone who has access to the culture saying, oh, you should not have access to the culture, you should not be in this space, you should not be successful. And it's messing with his paper, so of course he's gonna try to step in and say something. But what he's saying doesn't really work. Mind you, for both sides it doesn't really work. With Drake, the rumors, that the allegations that he lobbied, starting with Family Matters, doesn't really make sense. Because one, with the common law thing of Drake. Drake had an illegitimate. Drake had a child and tried hiding the child and wasn't there for the child for the longest time until the Pusha T disc came out and everyone was like, "Oh, you have a secret child," and now he's kind of parading the kid around like we inherently care too much about it after he pretended that that child did not exist, and now there's rumors and allegations that there's another child that he has that is in a similar predicament that Adonis was. So he doesn't have the room. He can't talk about this because like you've done similar things. What you're alleging that what you're alleging that Kendrick has done, Drake has done 2 times worse. Then you have the abuse allegations, and everyone's pointing about how Whitney, I think it's Whitney's brother, like one of Whitney's family members, saying like rooting for Kendrick, and everyone's kind of questioning like, oh, like how could this be true if this is what happened? I am not going to speak too much on that because anything can happen. We know how like strange family politics can be, especially when it comes to men, because we live in a misogynistic and in a society that's so inherently built on misogyny. I personally don't believe that Kendrick did anything to Whitney in that way, but we won't know until that is cleared up, unless there's like evidence or proof that really suggests that happened or that did not happen. So TBD on that. Then you have the R. Kelly of it all. And for me, I'm very mixed on the critiques here, because with Drake, with what Drake was saying about Kendrick about the situation with the R. Kelly thing, I was having a conversation with a friend on this, and I'm kind of mixed on how to read how Kendrick was like approaching that, because I think most people were approaching the R. Kelly Kendrick thing with, oh, Kendrick is still supporting R. Kelly music and wanted that to still be on platforms because he still wants to stream it, he still wants to support, someone who's like disgusting, da 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 da. I think that the way that Kendrick, at least how I was reading it, I feel like Kendrick was doing that not because he liked R. Kelly or was willing to defend what R. Kelly was doing, because again, what R. Kelly did was absolutely disgusting, and he has like, even with the Kodak Black angle of things, in which it's like, oh, like he's disgusting, but here's him on a track on Mr. Morale trying to quote unquote redeem himself. Like, here's an attempt at this. Unlike something like that where it's like an attempt and a failure, R. Kelly very clearly has not redeemed himself, and he still stands by what he has done. So I don't think Kendrick's going that angle. I personally read it as Kendrick being like, oh, like if we pull music on a platform like this from a black art, like I think he was going for the principle of like, what are the optics of just pulling music off a platform, because people are saying so, and I'm not trying to defend that, because there's obviously mixed things about that, because again, R. Kelly's a horrible person. I mean, the way that I'm approaching it is like, I guess in defense of that angle, because I think that at the end of the day, there are so many horrible people in various industries and media, and there are so many people who, regardless of what people have done, no matter what it is, or no matter how evil a person is, there are still going to be a handful of people who are willing to consume that music because they don't care, or because they think the music is so good. And I feel like the conversations would then lead to like a snowball effect of, pressuring Spotify and pressuring streaming services to pull various artists off of platforms, or them just doing like the streaming services just doing that on their own. Because if we're pulling R. Kelly music, then it's like, okay, we got to pull all the white people's music that has been, created by white artists that have done very similar things, if not worse things than R. Kelly. Then it's like, okay, then there's going to be the conversation of, oh, should we pull Chris Brown music off the platforms? Then it's going to be more, I guess, stand-based arguments of, oh, like these artists should be removed. Like you're going to see, then you'd see things like pop grave comments being like, oh, Nicki Minaj music should be removed from platforms because da 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 da. And I feel like we would have lost the plot if that was the case. So I kind of see a potential. I see my angle as to where Kendrick was going with that, but again, the angle is still bad because again, R. Kelly has committed a lot of damage and has, like, he really messed a lot of people up. So there's that. And I mean, both tracks, well, not, I say both tracks like it was just two tracks. All the tracks that have been put out by these men have, at the end of the day, left black women out the conversation. Like, and black women were really kind of used as the butt of the joke at the end of the day. Like, they are, like, Drake is using, like, on the Family Matters track, he is literally accusing Kendrick of DA, but he then turns around and shouts out Chris Brown, who has done that and more. All right, you got it, Aubrey. But and then it's like Kendrick is kind of doing similar things, but again, there's the R. Kelly thing, and there's also the Kodak Black thing, in which he had Kodak Black on Mr. Morale. And obviously with Mr. Morale, as I touched on earlier, he was trying to do that as, like, I guess, a morality, Kodak's a changed man type thing. But it's been very clear that Kodak has not changed, and Kodak Black has not redeemed himself as a person. He's still kind of doing the things that he's done before. So it's kind of like, I mean, let me ask the audience. But I mean, that's really my thoughts. There have been rumors that have been swirling that UMG, Universal Music Group, who manages Drake, is reportedly been trying to, like, send emails to Kendrick's team at PG Lang to say, oh, we need this beef to wrap up. Y'all need to calm down because this is impacting our money. And, like, there's also rumors that, like, this has been impacting the various sponsorships that Drake has had because of the rumors, well, the allegations that have been lobbied to him. And I mean, it really sucks to suck. Like, that sounds so mean about when I say that, but, like, it really does suck to suck. Like, at the end of the day, WMG, because this was Warner Music Group, not Universal. Warner Music Group, WMG, Warner Music. At the end of the day, they have various artists on their platforms that have sponsorships that can generate millions and millions of dollars. And while Drake, yes, is successful, he's an artist that can be replaced for better or for worse. Because at the end of the day, it's about the music that you put out. It's about the quality of your character for a lot of people. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. And I think for me as well. I can say that for sure. And the legacy that you put out. And Drake, unfortunately, has been tarnishing his legacy for the last couple of years. And mind you, people already questioned his space, him trying to be in the rap and R&B space. But for better or for worse, the space is available to anybody, because mind you, there's actual white people in the rap space. Like, we have had Eminem be, like, a successful rapper for years. Then you have Jack Harlow kind of cosplaying as a good rapper. Like he kind of summoned in the bots because he got like that "Living on Me" track like exploding on the charts or whatever, and he is a very shady person. But I will leave that be. There's a lot of people in the industry that can really reach up to the success that Drake has had, if not surpass that, if they have the right resources dedicated to them in that angle. So I would say that Drake is replaceable, but Kendrick has already solidified his legacy in the rap space for decades to come. And I think this beef will also be solidifying that, because at the end of the day, Drake was going to lose regardless, because again, he does not have the pen. But it will be, this beef will go down in history, and Kendrick will be praised for how he handled this beef, the different decisions and the different ways he had put this music out, whether it was how he did with Family Matters and dropping that, not Family, how he responded to the Family Matters with Meet the Grams by dropping it less than an hour later, or whether it is with Euphoria and the, you know, sextuple entendres, like the entendres, the entendres that song has. Those will go down in history. Whereas Drake is going to go down in history as the grown man who loves kids, allegedly, and the person who lost this great battle. And that's all I got to say on that. I'm ready to wrap this up. I hope Kendrick does not drop any more disses. Like, I'm good. I hope nobody else drops no more disses. Like, I'm tired. But that has been my thoughts. Let me know in the comments on YouTube what you guys thought about this episode, what y'all thought about the disses, and what your favorite tracks are. And support Black women. That's all I gotta say. I will talk to you guys later. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Cake Radio Show, and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast listening platforms, from Spotify to Apple Music to Last FM. We're everywhere. iHeartRadio too. We're everywhere. So yeah, that's all from me, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.